Hey everyone, Fire here, and today we're going to be talking about the most overpowered mapping tech that's currently in the game. So what are Sulphite Shrines? Well, Sulphite Shrines are basically buffs that you receive for picking up Sulphite in maps, thanks to nodes that you can take on the Atlas tree. The first node that, and I guess the most important node that provides a buff, is Packed with Energy. It gives you 1% to your maximum elemental resistances, 35% increased damage, and 15% increased movement speed for each Voltaxic Sulphite vein or chest that you pick up, and this stacks to 3 times since you can find 3 of these in a map. And then the other node that we're going to be talking about, and the other node that I'm going to be recommending, is Mining Byproducts, and this gives you a 10% chance to gain an equal amount of Azurite to the amount of Sulphite that you get. So in a typical map where you're running it with Quant, you're running it with Rusted Sulphite Scarabs, this is roughly around 2,400 Azurite every time that this procs. You get 3 opportunities for it to proc in a map, and when it does proc, that's enough Azurite to, I believe, buy 8 one-socket resonators, and they're currently selling for about 1.5 to 2C each in bulk, so at absolute worst, you're looking at 12C profit every time this procs. Now, this is not new tech. This has been in the game for about a year now. The reason I'm making this video is because every day on stream, people are asking me, why are you popping Rusted Sulphite Scarabs in every map? A lot of people are just unaware that this exists, and it does need to be talked about because there are a lot of people who would be running it if they knew it existed, and so I guess that justifies making the video. But a lot of people are also underestimating how strong these buffs are. 45% increased movement speed, 105% increased damage, and 3% all res. Now, max res rather. Now think about this in terms of Tailwind Elusive boots. You're probably willing to pay like 40 to 50 divines for a good set of Tailwind Elusive boots. This shrine buff is giving you more movement speed than upgrading to those boots. It's giving your character more damage, and it's giving your character more defenses. And yet, this only costs you about 1C every few maps. The thing that pushes this over the edge into the territory of just absolute absurdity is the fact that you're actually able to make money off it. Now, I would be willing to pay something like 5C for every Rusted Sulphite Scarab in order to have these buffs. I'd be willing to actually pay a lot more than that. These are really, really powerful buffs to be running, but it turns out you actually just make money running this. It's pretty ridiculous. So it's going to cost you 1C every 2 to 3 maps. Now, when I bought all of my Sulphite Scarabs, I think I bought about 1,000 for, I think it was 0.25C each, roughly. I can't quite remember, but you're profiting on average about 720 Azurite per map, and this works out to 2.5 resonators or 3.5C every map on average, right? Now, if you're juicing even harder with things, with other nodes on the tree, it's probably going to be a bit more, and if you're not juicing as hard, it's probably going to be a little less, but it's just crazy that you actually make money doing this when it should cost money. And even if the price of Sulphite Scarabs went way up, you would still be making money, or at the very, very least, you'd be breaking even. So the last thing to talk about here are Scarabs versus missions. This gets brought up all the time on stream. People ask me, why don't you just pop Nico missions as opposed to using the Rusted Scarabs? Well, the Rusted Scarabs, as I pointed out, are very, very cheap. They grant 20% increased Azurite at the Rusted level. I really wouldn't recommend using Polished or Gilded since we're mostly interested in just getting the Shrine buff as quickly and as cheap as possible. And the main thing for me really just comes down to the fact that the missions have to be reselected every map. So I started off using Nico missions at first, and I found that I just kept forgetting to reselect Nico missions every map. Whereas with the Scarabs, you just put 10 in at a time and you're good to go for 10 maps. You don't have to really remember. And if you forget, you're only, losing 1 out of 10 maps. Personally, I would recommend just buying hundreds, if not thousands of these. They're going to last you for the rest of the league, pretty much. But when you think about how much you're investing into this, it's going to be a fraction of Tailwind Elusive boots. And, it only costs you 5 points on the tree. You can just fill up a tab worth of Rusted Sulphite Scarabs, and then you're good to go for the rest of the league. You don't have to think about it anymore. It's basically a permanent buff to every character you play. If you like this video, give me a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.